This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Scott, you just mentioned the trading deadline. The team's pretty stacked. They're pretty deep overall, I got to say, when we're looking at it. But you never know. Sometimes there's some low-hanging fruit out there.
Absolutely.
And, Riley has been just an absolute kraken when it comes to taking advantage of certain situations over the last 25 years. Can the Kraken rise to take advantage of any disgruntled situations out there in the NBA?
Well, I look at the Heat and I say to myself, where might they need help? And the one question I still have is this. If PJ Tucker is injured or sidelined or in foul trouble, who steps in right there? And the answer at the start of the season was Markieff Morris, who only played 10 games. We haven't seen since November 8th. Otherwise, you're going undersized with Caleb Martin, who wasn't available last night. Matter of fact, last night they briefly went back to Dedmon and Adebayo. Eric Spoelstra sort of experimenting. So I'd say if there's a backup power forward, and that's the move they made at last year's deadline, remember, when they traded Harkless and Silva to Sacramento for Nemanja Bjelica. They thought it would work out. It certainly is working out well for the Golden State Warriors. It didn't necessarily here. And they made the move with Myers Leonard for Trevor Ariza. So it's kind of similar in that the Heat looked at power forward at last year's deadline and said, we can use some depth. Let's get a couple of guys. If there's a simple guy like that, the difference is this year, they don't have a Myers Leonard contract to trade. They don't have a deal like that for a bigger name guy on an expiring contract. I would look at power forward, but I'd also say this to you. We'll get into this again twice next week in our Accurate Pembroke Pines reports, is this. I think the trading deadline will be more impactful to the Heat by what other teams do in the East, what the competition does. What does Philadelphia do with Simmons? Does Cleveland bring in another veteran guard now that they're still sort of questionable there with the injuries that they've had? So I think the trading deadline might be punch and counterpunch, where the Heat almost sit back and say, let's see what the other guys do, and then we'll know how much we need to do.